I have a recent need of creating a document in the cloud certification after somebody completes a program and sending it to them automatically. A PDF that has their name and information certifying that they've completed a particular program. If you ever found yourself wishing you could complete this task automatically, look no further than this video because that's exactly what we're covering here. So stick around and let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gareth. I'm the owner at Gap Consulting, and we make it our mission to help you automate the both. But before we get into the video, if you're wondering how in the heck we got here to begin with, it might be because you haven't started leveraging automation yourself yet. If that's the case, I want to teach you the basics of automation and get you up to speed quickly so that you can start saving time. Check out my free training at garethpronovost.com/webinar-registration. If you sign up there, you'll get access to my webinar presentation. It's going to teach you the fundamental building blocks of automation. And what we're doing here is going to make a ton more sense once you've gone through that training. But without further ado, let's hop on into the heart of this. I've got my table already built here in Airtable. I've called this table certification, and here are the minimum fields we're going to need. In our example, on our certification, we are asking for someone's name so that we can fill it out on their certificate. We're also asking for their email so we can send them the certified copy of the PDF. Once it is done, they need to receive that in their email. So obviously, we're going to need to ask for that. Now that's it in terms of what somebody has to give us in order for this automation to work. I'm also using a created date field. This is metadata. It's going to capture the date that the certification was received. So whenever somebody submitted to us, we know what the date is. If you're not familiar with this field, it's simply called created time. That's the field type. And here are your options. You can choose to include time, use Greenwich Mean Time, or display time zone. In my case, I don't really care about that all too much, so I've gone ahead and removed that. Next, I have the certificate itself. This is where I'm going to be storing the document that we generate on behalf of the student. And so this is an attachment field type. If you haven't used that before, this is going to store pretty much any file that you can imagine, including the PDF that we're going to create here. Next, I'm looking at a last mod certificate. This is a last modified time. And the reason for this one I'll explain in just a bit, but what we're doing is looking at the certificate field, and we're going to update with the date and time that that particular field was last modified. You'll see why as we progress here. And then lastly, I've built a send email trigger, and this is for the second of the two automations. Maybe I should pause here and say the first automation is going to create the document. As soon as someone submits their name and email, we're going to create the certification document on their behalf. And then after that, we have a second automation that's going to send that certificate to the student. And the reason that we need a second one here is because we need there to be a slight delay between those automations. The first automation, when we create the document, we're going to store the document back in Airtable. The issue here is that Airtable takes a second or two before it recognizes that document. And if we don't force a little bit of a delay here, then it causes an issue and we wind up sending an email without a certificate to the end student, which is not what we want. So we want to force a little bit of a delay. And in order to do that, we're taking that last modified certificate time. Remember, it's getting timestamped with the date and time that the certificate field was updated. And we're taking that date time and we're adding 2 minutes to it. Now this is overkill. We definitely don't need 2 minutes, but I like taking a little bit of extra time just in case something goes wonky. And what we're doing is comparing that last modified time, 2 minutes added to it, we're comparing that sum to now. Now being the meta call that's saying, what is the current date time at the time of this particular automation? Now, when we're comparing those, we're using the less than or equal to, so as to say that if last modified summation hasn't surpassed the now function, then it's not ready, meaning that we haven't delayed long enough yet. This is a workaround for creating a delay in Airtable Automation because unfortunately, Airtable Automations don't have an action yet that allow us to just build a delay right into the automation. So since we don't have that functionality, we have to force it with a little bit of formula magic, as you see here. Now, once we're good with this, let's go ahead and walk through the automations themselves. Two automations to build here. The first one is simply creating the document. Now this requires that we have a Documint account. Documint is an add-on software to Airtable that I've spoken about previously on this channel. It is perfect for creating any kind of documents that you need to create in the cloud, especially if you need to use that PDF in an automated fashion. Now there is an extension in Airtable called the Page Designer, but it does not allow us to implement automation. So for that reason, we need to include this third-party tool, Documint. I'll include my affiliate link to Documint below. If you want to give it a shot, check that out. It would be an awesome way for you to send a little bit of love back to the channel. All we have to do here though is say when a record is created. And the reason that we can say this is because we can turn off record creation in our table, meaning that nobody can create a record in our certification table unless they do so through a form. And so if you look to our views, we've created a certification request form. And on the form, all we need to ask is what's your name, what's your email address. Make these both required fields. When we're done with that, then we go up to the table itself and we edit the table permissions. And we simply say that nobody can create records. The only way that a record can be created is if someone submits a form in order to create the record, or can be created through an automation. Either way, no problem, a record can be created, but we cannot allow a person in our database, a user, to create a record. That way we can make sure that the only time that we'll ever create a record here is if it was somebody submitting certification through the form that we've created here. So, back to our automations. When a record is created, we know it's a valid record. We know someone just submitted a form. Perfect. And then we run the script. Now, this script actually comes from Documint itself. When you build your integration with Documint, you see that I've created my certification here, and I include a few variables. I have the full name variable. I have the date variable. This is going to be the created date when the certification was approved. And this, of course, is the name that the person provides for us inside of the Airtable form. But once that's done, once they submit that information, the important part is the integration that we establish between Documint and Airtable. In order to get that integration set up, simply click on Integration, go to Airtable, and what we're going to do is create this automation script here. You need to start with your table URL. So in order to grab this, let's go back to Airtable, go to your data structure here, because we need to actually be in the certification table. You can grab that in the URL right here. You can ignore this last part because this is the view and whether or not extensions are on or off. We need everything to the left of this that includes TBL. That is the table ID for this particular table. So grab that, go back to Documint, paste it in here. Now we have to tell it what the attachment field name is. Back to Airtable again. We have our attachment field right here called certificate. So we can bring that in here, certificate. And we are just about good. You have a few additional options that I'll choose to ignore for this example. And right here, Documint has created a script for us. All we have to do now is grab that script, simply copy it here, flip back into Airtable once again, open up our automation, and here's where we're adding the script element. Inside the script, we go to Edit Code, and you'll see that I've already dropped that code in here. Now the last piece we need to establish is the record ID. You won't by default have the record ID here, and so you'll need to add that input variable. Simply say add input variable, and you'll have to name it record_ID. Now the reason for this is that is how it has been named right here inside of the script that Documint has created for us. This script is looking for a variable called record_ID. Syntax matters, capitalization matters. So just copy this particular property name, paste it into the name field here, and then assign the value. The value is going to be the record ID that triggered the automation. So that's what you want to grab in here. Now I've already done this, I've already set it up. So once you're done setting it up, it should look just like mine does here at the top. Let's go ahead and delete that extra one because we are ready to move on from this automation. But before we do, let's quickly recap. All that happens here is a new record is created. We know it was created because a form was submitted. And then we go ahead and pass this information off to Documint. Documint is going to create our PDF, and it's going to instantly save it back into our Airtable database in our certification table, specifically in the certificate attachment field. Now that's a lot that's happening for just one simple automation. Now before I move on, I have to point out that the script feature that I've just showcased, this is a premium feature inside of Documint. You'll need to be on a paid plan in order to access that script. Even if you're not on a paid plan, however, you can still access a good amount of the functionality inside of Documint. You just won't get that scripting function right then and there inside of the app. Now let's move on to our second automation. Back to automations. We are going to now send the certificate. And if you recall, when we built this, we are looking for a little bit of a delay in the trigger. In our particular case, we built a formula that's going to say go, G-O, only when a 2-minute delay has passed. That way ensuring that Airtable has had enough time to process the file that we just uploaded to our attachment field. So what we want to have happen here is, once that certification has been created and brought into our Airtable base, then we are going to send the email to the person who requested the certification. So pretty simply, we set up the trigger that we're going to trigger this automation when a record matches conditions. So I've built some extra conditions here just to make sure that my automation only fires when I'm ready for it. So the big one here is, of course, that the certificate is not empty. If certificate is empty, we don't have anything to send the person, so that's not going to work very well. The other thing I'm looking for is that special trigger that I built, that special delay formula, it has to say go. That's the arbitrary word that I picked. You could build whatever you want into your formula, but I said that mine is going to say go. And if you look at the formula that I shared with you earlier, that is the output after the 2-minute delay. And the other thing I want to make sure of is that the created date is today. That way I don't accidentally send old certificates from a few months ago by mistake. Definitely don't want to do that, so I want to make sure that this is only triggering on current records. Pretty self-explanatory trigger. The email is pretty easy itself. All I do here is, whether you're using Gmail or Microsoft Outlook or maybe Airtable's email provider, in any case, send the email from your preferred platform, get your account linked. You're going to send it to the email address inside of the database. And in this case, you're going to give it a subject. Maybe you're including a little bit of language here as well. And of course, the most important part is including the certificate in the attachments field. This is a little weird. If you go into an attachment, it doesn't look like you might expect it to. So let's take a look together at how to find this particular thing. I'm going to drill into the record from step 1 here. I'm going to scroll down and don't hit continue to go into this any further. Instead, just add the certificate. Insert the certificate as an attachment right here. I'm going to delete that because I already have it in there one time. That's all I need. When you're done, make sure both of these automations are turned on, and now it's time for testing. So let's go back to our data structure. We'll open up our form and we'll send some test data here. I'll just start with my name and my email address. Once I'm double checked that everything is correct, I'll hit submit. And this is now going to all work in the background. Let's go into our database and watch step by step. The first thing you'll notice is that all I provided in the form was my name and email, and already you see a certificate is loading here because the automation for creating that certificate has already processed. I can drill into that certificate, and there it is. It's added my name, and it knows the date of creation for the certificate. In this case, I'm filming this video on August 28th, and that's what showed up here. So far, so good. The certificate is looking perfect. Remember, this was the first of our 2 automations to create the doc. But now we're looking to send that certificate. So that is not going to trigger until our send email trigger has elapsed for 2 minutes. So let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit until that is ready to go. All right, the time passed, and here we are. You see now that my email trigger is set to go. If you recall, this particular formula is looking at the last modified certificate time. So effectively, when did the certificate come into creation? Adding 2 minutes to that, and it's saying that now the current moment in time has to be beyond that. Again, this is just a simple way to add a 2-minute delay, sometimes a little bit longer depending on how long it takes the formula to calculate. In either case, a little extra time isn't going to hurt us, so I don't mind if it takes 5 minutes or 2 minutes. It's still going to work when the time is right. So let's go ahead and flip now into email to see if that was received. And sure enough, that email came from me with the title Airtable's Fundamentals Certificate. We can click into there and we see everything that we want in that email body, including, most importantly, the certificate itself as an attachment PDF. I can open this up and I can save this now. I can print it. As the recipient of this email, I now have my certification in email. I know we went fast in this video and there's a lot to cover. I hope you got a ton of value from it. If you want to stay on top of no code and different no code tools like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos, and I will see you in the next one. As always, I hope you found that to be extremely helpful. If you did and you'd like to learn more, swing by our website and see how we can help. We offer a free Airtable crash course that will help you level up in Airtable quickly, and we also have some paid services, including hourly consultations with our experts. We have some online courses and a group coaching program, and for advanced needs, we can build a bespoke solution for you from scratch. So swing on by, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.